Hello and welcome to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. I'm your host, Gabby, and I am honored that you pressed play today. I'm a wife, a mom of 4, personal trainer, and passionate about helping others lead a healthy and peaceful life. Are you looking for a space where you can feel seen, educated, and gain practical tips? Are you burned out from the online world and just need a cozy place to come and learn without all the extra noise and endless scrolling? We are going to get real, we're going to dig deep and engage in topics like navigating motherhood, what living healthy can look like, fitness, gardening, relationships, faith, and much more. I'm far from perfect, but I invite you along for the journey because, well, this is life and we are always growing and evolving. If you are ready to finally take action and are ready to learn, grow, and transform your mind, then you are in the right place. It's a time to establish deeper roots so you can enjoy a more fruitful and fulfilling harvest. Let's dig in. Hey guys, welcome to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. My name is Gabby. Of course, my daughter immediately comes out here after I record my intro to come play with the baby chicks that are in the garage. I'm sitting in my car and we have little chicks that we're raising and they're out here. So I told her that we can play with them when I'm done. So anyway, welcome. A new week, some new encouragement and tips. I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope this podcast finds you well. Oh, we've had, I feel like a busy week. Last week was just like, I feel like a lot of stuff going on and I was just hauling kids in and out of this car a lot. And like trying to give myself a rest day from working out like never happens like I intend for it because I am just shuffling around kids and groceries and cleaning the house and cleaning up and taking care of animals. It's just never ending. Like, when can I just kick my feet up? Oh, yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Comes with motherhood, right? They are a blessing. And actually, I have to take all 4 of my kids to the dentist for cleanings. So pray for me that I survive. Last time was the girls' first time, and they didn't like it. They cried. My boys have done great. They've had some cavity things that we've had to deal with. I hate dental things, even for myself. I just avoid the dentist. I will be honest, I didn't take our kids to the dentist until my oldest was 7. That was the first time he had ever been to the dentist. So we've had some teeth things and I'm growing and learning and just trying to stay on top of that as best I can with them and all of that. So I'm sure maybe we'll find a time to chat about all of that. But I have to take them all out tomorrow morning for some cleanings and I'm hoping my girls will do just fine. Just fine. So, and I think they will. I've been trying to talk about it more, especially with my 3.5-year-old. She seems like she'll be okay. So we will find out. But anyway, this week I wanted to talk to you. We're not too far behind on, like, if you want to do some spring gardening, get some seeds going, or if you, at this point, it might be a little late in our zone here in the Midwest to be starting seedlings because we're getting closer to the point where we'll have our last frost date, which is super exciting. But that doesn't mean you can't start things in your garden. You can definitely find a local nursery to buy from and support. So I will talk a little about that and then, like, in terms of planting seeds and starting them from home. So if you're a new gardener, starting seedlings might be a very overwhelming process for you. It's not hard, but it can be tedious and it can come with some failures, which is totally fine. I've definitely had my own. I have been doing it. This might be my 4th year. I started in around like 2020 time, I believe, is when my husband got me my own little greenhouse for the house. Like, it's just a little 5-tier stand, like, rack with a plastic covering that zips over it and I can zip it open. So if I zip it closed, it becomes like warm inside, creating that greenhouse effect. So it's nothing fancy. You just find it right on Amazon, or some local stores have them. They're not like crazy expensive or anything, but that's all I have. I don't have any like major giant greenhouse outside. We would love to do that, and might be in some future plans. But also, if you are just like in the like wanting to grow on a small scale, buying plants from your local nursery could be the better way to go, and you can just support local. What is the difference though is you are paying like basically the same price for just one plant as you would for a pack of seeds that could give you, it depends on the kind of seeds you're buying. But say you're buying, lettuce seeds, there's hundreds inside of a packet. You could get like 30 bean seeds inside of a packet, and you'd be paying, even tomatoes, all of those things, you'd be paying the same price for just one plant as you would for getting many if you grew them at home, which to some people might not matter. And it's also it takes time. It's also another thing to put on your back burner. Like, you can't forget about your plants. So it's another thing that you have to keep alive. I always joke, like, I got kids to keep alive, I got animals to keep alive, and now I've got my plants to keep alive, my sourdough starter to keep alive. And so I know I'm not really selling it, but like it is truly such a rewarding thing when you do plant your own plants from seed. I love it. I love getting the kids involved. And we've had years where failure has happened, or like I've had babies and it's just like, forget it. Like, whoops, these ones did not get strong enough, or I didn't tend to them well enough. And we did find some local places to go buy some pepper plants or tomato plants. I also had a sweet neighbor that would grow my onions and tomatoes for me, and I just relied on her a lot. So I'm like texting her now that I don't live, and I'm like, hey, my plants look like this. Is this okay? And at this point, should I be pinching off these leaves, or should I be up potting? And how, do my onions need light? All these things. So it's just funny, because I've been gardening for over 10 years now, and I still feel new when it comes to the indoor stuff. But again, if you're one that just isn't growing for mass quantity or sharing with other people, you could just buy at your local nurseries or hardware stores or wherever that you see are selling plants. And you could buy them that way, getting a couple plants that way. Sure, you might be spending a couple extra, dollars in the long run, but you didn't have to spend all that time, and getting some extra supplies and resources, and the day-to-day remembering of checking them and all of that stuff, watering them, tending to them. So yeah, it just all depends. But in the end, I'm going to share with you, some tips for planting, what's needed, what I've done. So again, you got to define the purpose for your garden. Is it for hobby/fun? Is it for high production, self-sustaining? Is it to sell or to share with your community? Kind of define the purpose, because that kind of helps you know the size of your garden and what you're going to plant. And then if you're going to plan to start your indoor plants, or are you going to plan to support a local nursery? So at this point we are, I believe oh goodness, I totally forgot now. Might be like May 15th or May 20th. Could be our last frost date. So we're getting close to being 4 weeks out from our last frost date, which is very exciting. And planting seedlings, you want to be doing those. You're going to count backwards. So you can find where you live. You can look online and find your zones, your growing zone. I'm 5A here in Wisconsin. Your last frost date. And you want to count backwards from that date about 8 to 10 weeks. So you can find it online, like I said. And I use, there's this Farmer's Almanac website. I'll try to remember to link it in the show notes for something for you to reference to. And it actually will I can print off this PDF that will tell me the windows of time that I can plant my seedlings. And if they are meant for indoor planting, If they are meant for direct sowing, which means you don't start them inside, you plant them outside, it'll tell me the months and the dates that I can do that. And then if I did start seeds inside, it tells me the time frame of when they can be started to be transplanted outside. So it's really actually super helpful because it does it based on your zone. I don't know who showed it to me, but it was super helpful. It helped just give me a visual, and you can even mark a calendar. I've definitely done that. There have been seasons in my life when I've had more time for that kind of stuff, and other times I'm just winging it, to be honest. I've winged so many things, guys. But like with sourdough, a lot of it is just forgiving. It's super forgiving. And if you got extra seeds because you bought seeds, then you can just plant some more. And, or go buy from your local nursery something that just didn't grow super well that you started. So things that you're going to start indoors to transplant would be some herbs, and really not too many. You could start like basil inside, or I want to say it's cilantro or parsley, but I don't do a whole lot of herbs. I'm not super good at it yet. I am not an herb queen. I would love to, and I just have to practice that more. So don't learn from me with the herbs yet. But some other things that you can start inside would be peppers, the bell peppers or whatever kind of peppers you like, tomatoes, onions. Now you can do onions as like little bulbs and do them outside. I've never done that. I feel like my father-in-law's done that. I've never done it that way. I've just always gotten them from my neighbor, and it has worked. I mean, I've gotten like softball size onions before from this tiny little blade of grass that was grown, and I planted it into the garden and it grew huge. Like, onions are literally one of my favorite things to grow, and my kids can harvest them so easy, and it's so fun. It's great. So onions, broccoli or cabbage, and celery. So most seed packets will say, start indoor or direct sow. They'll tell you how far apart to plant them or how deep to plant it. Counting back, this many weeks from your frost date. So a lot of seed packets will have all of that information on there. So when you see direct sow and it says for direct sow only, that means do not start that seed indoors. That is for strictly starting outside, because there are many plants that do not handle being handled with. Their roots are too sensitive. It was probably 2020 because we all had a lot of time on our hands, or the year after. I don't know why I thought I could do this. I feel like I was smart enough then, but hey, I don't know. Or I was just wanted to see. I planted like cucumbers and squash and zucchini and peas, like all these things. So I was like, I'm gonna get ahead of the game. And yeah, you just don't do that. You don't plant those kinds of things inside because they do not last. Like they grow so fast and so big, and then they outgrow the space before you're able to even put them outside because it's not time yet. And their roots are too sensitive that they don't like to be messed with, so they don't even want to be touched and transplanted. So don't do that. Stick to the ones that I said. So again, you can go online and find your zone's last frost date. Usually the best planting time frame in the Midwest here, like where I live, is end of February through the first week of April. Is kind of that window. And even right now, but Wisconsin just can't get its act together with the weather. This week is just too chilly for me. It's dropping in the 20s at night again, and I'm like, I don't want to plant anything outside. We had like some random 70-degree days, and then it's a nice 50 or 60, and then it's just like a high of 40s and dropping in the 20s. I like, what is this? So I wanted to plant some things outside, which I can, but with some rain coming, I don't want things to get washed out, and I don't want it to be too cold where it's just pointless to be planting. So I'm hoping by next week, which would be the second week of April, that I could get some things outside. I actually have some more potatoes being delivered, some seed potatoes. So it could be the perfect timing. I get a little antsy, and I have to remind myself that it's better to wait and watch the weather than get antsy and just do it and regret it, because, yeah, that weather can definitely ruin things. So things, not to start inside would be peas, cucumbers, squash, carrots, beets, radishes, peas. They don't do great when you transplant those from indoors. They are best when sown directly. I'm just flipping my page here. Excuse the noise. Seed starting soil is great to start with. You can get either seed starting mix or you can buy potting soil. Potting soil might be a little more, it might be less fluffy and have a little bit larger chunks of debris in it, which is fine. You can sift it out or whatever. But either way, those are perfect options for starting your indoor plants. Don't just grab dirt from outside. That is not going to do it. There are specific things added to your soil bags that you're buying, like perlite and other things I cannot think of off the top of my head. But they help create airflow, things that help retain moisture. So there's a whole like concoction. It's like a science experiment, like I wanted to make my own, but in the end I am not growing for mass production where, like, you could save money by buying like the actual different ingredients and mixing it up yourself. But if I was like on a higher scale doing that, I would be. But I can afford to buy some bags, some bags of soil, and do it that way. So seed starting or potting soil, you'll need some seed trays and a way to label. So I've bought the little sticks. You can write on the white sticks. You could buy popsicle sticks. You could use masking tape with a marker and just label ones like that. That gets a little harder when you have little mini cells, but when I have them in their own single pots, I will use masking tape with marker. It was actually a great project for my 2 boys to write the names. They got some good writing practice in and write the names of the plants and put them on the pots as I would fill those up. So in terms of like your growing containers, I mean, you can reuse, like if you don't want to buy the little black trays, or you can buy things that even are compostable. They're kind of like cardboard feely. You can use and reuse like safe strawberry containers. They have a lot of holes in them, and they have a little lid which creates a little dome to help start your seedlings, give them a little moisture and a little heat, creates a little humidity, and you just pop it open once they've started to come through the soil. You can save yogurt containers, cottage cheese containers. You can use plastic red cups. What you want to make sure you do though is just poke or drill some holes in the bottom so that there is drainage that can happen of the water, so it has a place to kind of like drain out if there's too much, so you don't get too waterlogged for your plants. So you can reuse things, you can get creative, but in the end, once you like invest in some trays, and again, if you're not growing on a mass scale, you're not going to need millions of these things. I found like a pack. Actually, I found these ones at Aldi. It was like a 4-pack or 6-pack of these mini seed tray cells, and it came with a dome on top, and I used those to start lots of them this time, and it was great. Popped them out when I needed to up pot them into a bigger pot, and I bought them off Amazon, and they're just like these circle pots that are they're not like super sturdy, but they're perfect. Like I can just reuse them. They're not crazy expensive, and I got a lot of them. I think I got like 100 of them for cheap, and we just write on the masking tape and stick it on there every time. So, I mean, eventually they'll have to be replaced, but for now they're still doing their job after like 3 years of having them. So you can get creative with what you have, the budget that you have, and some people will start things inside of like, they'll cut a milk jug like in half, like take a box cutter and cut it out in half and create a doming effect with that. They'll just fill it with soil and put the top back on over it and kind of fit it in there, and create a doming effect with that. So I mean, there's just endless things. You could just like search the internet, go on Pinterest, whatever, follow someone on Instagram. You'll just get a wealth of ideas. So just pick what you want, pick what works for you. If you want to try a few different things, go for it. Like, this is where you get to explore Get creative, try different things, see what works and what doesn't work. A greenhouse can help, but it's not required. You can just use your window and a table. You can just, have a specific designated spot near a windowsill that gets good light. Grow lights are not required, but are helpful with lessening the chance of your plants getting leggy. Now, leggy means the plants, after they have sprouted through the soil, once they've come through, they want light, right? Naturally. Most seeds, they don't need light to sprout, to come through, to germinate, any of that. They just need a little moisture and some heat. So they don't need like the grow lights or any of that necessarily to germinate. Once they do come through the soil, that is when they will need the light. And where the grow lights I found are super helpful is because I struggled with this whole, like, my plants were super leggy. And that just means plants have the light and they naturally want to gravitate towards that light. So when they're young, they're going to keep reaching and reaching for that sunlight. And if it's really far away, they're going to keep reaching, and they will get to be floppy and very tall and leggy. That's where the term comes from. And they aren't very strong and firm in their base. And we want the root system to become their solid base. And if they're using all their energy to grow up and up because the light's too far, it just results in a super weak plant. And I've been there, done that. And so I've just found lights on Amazon, grow lights. It's like a love-hate relationship with Amazon. Like, what would I do without it? I would save money, but when it comes to these things, it's helpful. You can, buy them at a local hardware store or a Walmart or, I don't know, wherever you go, a garden store. And they will have them. I don't have anything big like shop lights or anything. You can use stuff like that. I don't have a setup like that. You could do it simply where you just create like a little, like if you have a table, you could create a stand hanging over it with like a bar. Think of like a coat rack type thing. And you could have chains hooked up and holding a shop light hanging down from it, if that makes any sense. Try to visualize that. Something that you can raise up and down. So you want to be able to make the chains longer or shorter because you want those lights to be inches from your plants so that they are not trying to reach for that light. So if you put them by your windowsill, it can work. I've seen it sort of work for people. You will see that they kind of like grow at an angle towards the window. So if you do, you want to make sure you rotate those plants so that they're getting sunlight from all directions. And not, you'll see that they actually will, like a sunflower, they will turn in the direction of the sun. So your plants are going to reach for that. So try, with what you got, if you want to do it. And then eventually, if you want to invest in a little greenhouse, like I said, we got ours on Amazon. It was just this, my husband got it for me for my birthday. I was super excited. And it just has a plastic zipper ring over it, and it works great. I love it. And it actually is a dual purpose because then in the end, when I'm done with my seedlings and then in harvest time, I use the racks because they have little like holes in them. I use it to dry out my onions, to cure them, to cure my potatoes, anything that needs to dry for a few weeks before I put it in storage. It works great as a shelf for that. So it's been great. Heat mats, those help speed up germination, but they're not required. You can find these little heat mats. I've done with them, without them. I don't really rely on them a ton. I did it this time though, only with my peppers because I really I've got to master these peppers. I feel that I've been close, and so I was like watching tips from a gardener that I follow, and he was like, you got to do it. We've started them earlier and earlier every year, and it's been better every time we started earlier, and we used heat mats to start them, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm going to do exactly what he says to a T so that I can hopefully have some solid peppers. Then you want to keep your soil moist, not sopping, so have a nice spray bottle, just something simple, or you can have a sponge and just kind of like squeeze it out over the plants. I just saw that recently. I've never actually tried that, but that made a lot of sense. So you're not like dropping water on it like a hose. Like that's too much for those little guys. They're just too small to handle that much. So just enough to keep the soil moist. You don't ever want it to dry out. You can also do bottom watering. So if you have your seedlings in a tray, Like they're in their cells, but they're in a whole tray, so you can move all the seeds at once. So it'll have the holes in the bottom of your seed cells, so you can just pour water into the tray and it'll soak up, you're not going to fill up the tray. Like, don't, just fill it enough till you start to see water settling in the bottom. And they'll soak up the water from the base up, which is really good because that means then the roots are getting it first and foremost. But again, you can just spray lightly with a bottle or just lightly water it from the top with a watering can that's light, nothing heavy, nothing that you would use outside to water a garden. That's too intense. Then we will talk about, let's see. So we're planting them, all the things. So yeah, all the things you aren't required to have, but are helpful, the things you can get away with, just do what works best for you. Don't freak out that you need all of this stuff. But again, I've acquired things over the years. I've tried to get away without doing some things. And yeah, or you go to Aldi and you're like, hey, look at these seed trays. They're like $5. You get them and use them next year. Like, that's what happens. And it's great because you just build on that. You could wait until things go on sale after planting season and grab a couple things and plan on it next year and read books and get better at it. And this year, if you want a garden, just buy some plants. It's not too late to do that. A little too late to start some plants, though, for sure. I would say. Okay, so up potting. You heard me mention that before. So I'm still using potting mix for this. I actually had to go buy some more because I planted more tomatoes than I really realized. It always happens that way because you get so many in a packet, and I'm just so excited to plant. And I could thin them out and not save one, but I feel heartless if I just throw a plant off to the side. Like, I don't want you, but you are living. So, I mean, that's just me. So what happens is my seedlings are starting to now get really tall and out, like looking like the roots are outgrowing this small seed cell. It could be like a 2-inch seed cell, and they need like a bigger pot. So we're talking like a 4-inch pot, a 3-inch pot, something bigger, so that their roots can continue to grow deeper and stronger, and the plant can grow. I can put it in there a little deeper, and it's not getting so tall. So it's another part of the process, and so I spent time, me and the kids, and then just me, pulling out the tomato plants, separating them carefully, because you want to plant 1 to 2, for sure 2 seeds per cell. And a cell is just one little spot in the whole seed tray. Like, a cell is the small, like 1 by or 2-inch space. So you want to plant 2 seeds in each one, because the chances that one might not germinate are likely. It can happen. So you want to have a chance for at least one to germinate. And if you get both germinate, you can keep them both and just separate them like I did and plant them. Or you can toss one off to the side and just get rid of it and just know that you did get one out of the 2. Or you got both of them planted, they germinated, but you only want to keep one because you're going to have them come out of your ears if you plant them all, like I am. But I was like, you know what, I'll just share them with friends, or I'll give some to my family to plant. Like, it's not a big deal. I tend to overdo it sometimes. I just get excited. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention with buying seeds, I'm just going to go back to that thought quick. It's also super fun. I mean, I just like grab a cup of coffee. Once I get that catalog in the mail, I just want to pour over it and flip through it and look at all the varieties. That is where the beauty is with, like, you can't find these varieties unless they're like getting better at it, but like going to a store or a hardware store or your local nursery, they are not going to have all these varieties likely. And you could be missing out on some really cool seeds, heirloom varieties, and just getting to choose some of that stuff. Like, there is an endless world of all of it, and it's so fun to like look at 50 different tomato varieties. Yes, it's a little overwhelming and you have to narrow it down, but You know, I just think it's so fun, and that's where you also get to be the creator in that sense too. So buying seed packets versus someone else who planted the seeds gives you the more wide range options of different varieties that you can plant. So just a little tangent on that. So, okay, up potting. So then, yeah, we do this once they have, their pair of leaves and they're looking good and they're just looking like they're outgrowing what they're living in. And we don't want them to crowd out the other one. If there's two of them in there, they're going to fight over the nutrients and who's going to get what. And we don't want that. So you be gentle not to disturb the roots too much. You pull out as much of it as you can. You kind of squeeze from the bottom and push up as you're pulling on the plant. And then you kind of just gently wiggle your fingers, in the roots and the soil, and you let them kind of naturally separate. You just set them off to the side in some soil. I just lay them right on top of my bucket of soil until I grab my pot, fill it part way, make a little hole, and I plop it in there, and then I fill in the soil all the way to the top. So, and I've been able to dig it a little, or plant it a little deeper so that it has some more room to continue to get taller, because eventually it's gonna have to go outside, but it's not time yet for that. So I need it to stay like little as long as I can while it's getting big, if that makes sense. And then it'll come to the point where we need to harden them off. Hardening off is just slowly acclimating it to the outdoor world. So if you just take the plants and throw them outside without giving them exposure slowly over 7 to 10 days before you transplant them, you're going to shock them and they are not going to do well. So they need to get used to the outdoor breeze, they need to get used to the temperature, they need to get used to the sun, the wind, all of that kind of stuff. So what you're going to do is you're just going to bring them outside in the shade for a short time each day out of the wind, and then you'll start with an hour per day, and then you'll just gradually move up to more and more, again, about 7 to 10 days prior to transplanting. So yeah, and then with direct sowing, again, if you just look online, it'll tell you exactly when to start most of your things. There's a lot of things that are called cold hardy plants, which is exactly what you could be starting before your frost date. So these are things like potatoes, these are things like radishes and peas. They will not get ruined. They will start growing just fine in the cooler weather. Lettuce for sure. They will do just fine. They do better because once it gets way too hot, that's 70 degrees or higher, they are going to bolt and go right to seed pretty quick. So you can actually put these things outside from seed when you're direct sowing, and they will do just fine in the cooler weather at this point because it's not going to stay cold forever. I'm waiting for it to at least just stay like 35 above freezing every night. And I'm just not seeing that yet. So that's why I've been hesitant to plant. You kind of want that like 35 to 40 degrees at night as the low before you would plant some things out there. I've done carrots in March before. Did it hurt it? I don't really know because those things take forever to grow. Carrots, potatoes, they would be fine. And then peas and radishes. Radishes grow really quick. So yeah, just know you can start planting a couple things prior to that last frost date. Just look online, like I said, it'll tell you, and that's what I've learned from, where I'm like, oh yeah, I have this, this, and this. It's a lot of those root veggies, okay? And then like the peas and the lettuce. And then spinach actually loves the cold. So if you want to plant some greens, spinach does really well because it does not do well in the heat. So yeah, and then direct sowing the rest of your things like cucumbers and squashes and all of those, that'll come, later in May. And yeah, that's usually like my Mother's Day gift to me. But I don't know, it won't happen Mother's Day weekend because that's actually the weekend of my 50K, which that's a big deal. So I do not want to spend my time figuring out my garden. I was like, I'm going to get this 50K over and then I'm going to enter into just some rest and be in my garden and before I ramp up some training for the Chicago Marathon. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. But I hope this was helpful. I'm going to link to, there's a couple people that I've just learned from over the years aside from just trial and error. Don't overwhelm yourself with like, it's got to be perfect. You got to have everything perfectly planned out and bought and all the things. You could even just find some seeds at, the store. You can order them online if you want, but just grab a packet of something or plant in some pots. You can plant right on your porch. You can plant some tomatoes that are, you want ones that I think it would be called determinate. Indeterminate would be like they just keep growing. They don't have an ending point, but determinate means they only get so tall. So I would look into the best tomatoes for porch growing. Just Google it or something. You could grow potatoes in a giant like grow bag. You can do that in a giant pot. Yeah, you can grow herbs. You can grow lettuce. You could grow some peas. Just have a trellis for them to crawl up. You make it simple, make it fun, make it things that your family will eat, that you will eat, and really just enjoy the fruits of your harvest. There's nothing more rewarding than just knowing you're eating this food and you grew it. You took the time and the energy to spend tending to it and raising it. I mean, it's like new to me every time. Like, Gabby, you've watched a seed come through the soil a million times. Why is this any different? And it's not. It's just so like, because I'm so removed from it for the winter that when I get to come back to it, it's so life-giving because it's just life. It just grew. And like the way God created that is just fascinating to me, that literally this seed that I can barely see and I can barely plant just one at a time because they're so small and they just fall out of my fingers into a pile because I can't separate them. Like, from one little seed, this bounty just comes, and like there's just no words to even express what you feel when you get to go, when you see it, and when you get to harvest from it and enjoy it. It's hard to put words to it until you actually do it yourself, and it gives you an appreciation for the food that you have bought that you have not grown and where it's coming from. And also, like, you are in control of it. So if, you're not spraying pesticides on it, or it's been picked at a time that it was like, or it's been sitting on a truck forever. Like, I don't know. You just get like the freshest of fresh. And there's literally no tomato from the store that I've ever bought that has tasted like a tomato from my garden. There is a world of difference. If you've never had a hand-picked fresh tomato from the garden, like tomatoes in the store, I hate buying them. I only do it because I do like to have that taste sometimes in my salad or whatever, but nothing ever compares to the tomatoes, the taste of the tomatoes that I can just pull right from the vine at my house. I don't know. It's wild. It feels like something not real versus like this is a real tomato. So I don't know. It just blows my mind. But I will share some of the people that I have followed. Jessica Sowards of Roots and Refuge Farm. She's a huge person. I have some of her books for homesteading, and she has a book called The First Time Gardener. I have it in my hand right now. And she will leave you with so much to learn from. M.I. Gardner, M as in Mary, I Gardner. They're in Michigan. Luke is a wealth of knowledge. He's all over YouTube. Just YouTube it. I'll share the link. I've learned from him so much. And he's actually bought a huge plot of land and is expanding, which is super great. And then who else? Another friend, Jill something. I don't remember her last name. But she's friends with this Jessica Sowards girl. But she's got also all things gardening. And just so cute. Like, and she does flowers, and she's just such a cute, I don't know. She just wears her cute little headbands and earrings and her little nose ring and all these flowers and her cute outfits out in the garden. Like, it's just great. It's a whole vibe. Other things that we're going to have this year too. My strawberries are growing. I see some green out there. I forgot to cover them. So I'm not sure some of the ones that I planted in the fall are going to do so well, but strawberries recreate themselves. Like, they grow their own extras. That was a really poor way of explaining that. They grow runners, there we go, that you can replant into your beds for new growth. So I'm not going to be without them. We'll see what our harvest looks like this year. It'll probably be a better harvest next year because we moved and everything. We have raspberries that we've transplanted from our old house. We had a little bit of raspberries that were here, and then we're going to get some raspberries from a friend down the road, or a connection to a friend who has some fall bearing raspberries. So ours usually are June bearing and don't last all summer, we don't get any more. And so we would love some that would get us into the fall that we could harvest. And she has some, and so we were gonna go grab some of those. And again, with those kinds of things, they shoot up their own new runners. So like you get raspberries upon raspberries, and you just have to thin them out over time so they don't just go wild. I would love to learn more of like the blackberries, and I have done huckleberries in the past. I have an elderberry tree that's growing right now, some roots so that I can put it in some soil. I got that from my mom. We clipped its roots in the spring, or like early spring, and I have it sitting in water, a couple sticks, and they've got green growth growing all over them, like shoots, but I need the roots to grow from the bottom before I actually put them in any soil. So we'll have elderberry trees, and then I have ordered fruit trees. So we want to have a little orchard, so I have about 14 trees on order. We found out this place that sells bare root trees, and this just means that they're not these giant trees that are already put in soil in pots and raised, that you could spend $70 to $100 on just one, and I just spent $28 per tree on these smaller trees, but they're just the roots. They're not like in a pretty pot all grown up, so I get them a little smaller, but they're a lot cheaper, and that was all we just want to get them started as soon as we can. So we were going to do it in the first spring we lived here, and so Alex and the boys actually mapped out the whole spot for them so that we know where to dig them out, because once we get them, we have to plant them within like 2 days. So bare root trees, if you're looking for trees. So we've got a ton of apple varieties. We've got some cherry, we've got a peach, we've got a pear. Cherry, did I say that? I don't know if I said that. Apple, yeah. So we have all of those coming soon. And then I have some lemon trees, Meyer lemon trees, that I just found online, super cheap. And even though we live in an area that gets below freezing, we can just bring these in the pots. Like if we keep them in pots, it'll be just fine. They can live in our house. So I'm super excited for those. Can't wait to get them. So I guess stay tuned, because we're going to be learning about orchard tree growing. I don't even know how to prune a tree. I don't know anything about trees. So that'll be a whole new thing. But that's all a part of the journey, right? Well, I hope that you were encouraged by this, that this was helpful. I love talking about gardening. I love being in my garden. There's so many life analogies, and we'll probably have conversations about it over the course of the time that I'm in my garden, and have reflections and things that I want to share. But I hope that this just gives you a little like jump start to just jump in and just try something. And even if it fails, you learn something, and then you'll try something different next year. And again, acquire some things when things go on sale at the end of the growing season. Like grab them and save them for next year, and build up your resources now, and fill your brain with knowledge, and get a couple books, watch some YouTube videos, and yeah, just learn from other gardeners. And that's what it's all about. So that's why I'm here, just sharing the things I've done. And it's also such a great way, if you stay home with your kids or don't, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just a great way to get kids involved. You can even give them their own little area to plant, or you buy like a cheap kiddie pool. I've seen people buy like a plastic pool, fill it with soil, and let their kids just plant whatever they want in there, and that's their space. So it's just a great way to get them involved, to see where food comes from, hard work, and caring for something. Gets them active and outside, and they get to eat wholesome, rich food. So it's just such a huge win overall. So until next time, guys, I hope that we chat again soon and that, yeah, you have a great week. And I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye.